Hi, good evening, everybody. On behalf of TiE Dubai, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome everyone here today. TiE Dubai has been fostering entrepreneurship and supporting startups and small businesses in this region for more than 18 years now. It is my pleasure to quickly welcome each of you today to yet another virtual TiE Talk session. We have done more than 30 virtual events in the last few months, and we do hope these sessions have been valuable and helpful for many of you across many geographies. There are different formats that we do for these webinars: fireside chats, panels that address multiple perspectives on different topics, and also ones that help you tackle issues with practical knowledge, workshops that enable learning, new skills, wellness sessions, legal know-how, many things that will help you combat these special and different times. We also have one-to-one clinics with multiple experts to advise you on specific challenges you may be facing as a company now. Make sure you like TiE Dubai on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube to access all our events and programs. Just look for TiE Dubai everywhere. I would also like to acknowledge and thank all of TiE Dubai sponsors and partners who continually support us in bringing more to you. While we do have a lot of regular members here who are familiar with TiE already, I would like to do a quick introduction for the others who are not so familiar. Born in Silicon Valley in 1992 and now operating in more than 60 chapters in 16 countries, TiE is a non-profit organization devoted to entrepreneurs in all industries at all stages, right from incubation throughout the entrepreneurial life cycle. With a global reach and a local focus, the heart of TiE's efforts lie in its 5 foundational programs: mentoring, networking, education, funding, and incubation. TiE Dubai is the Middle East chapter of TiE, based in the Dubai Internet City, and has been around for more than 18 years now. We run regular events and programs like I was telling you a little bit earlier. If you need more information, if you actually need to access these events, do click on join now on our website, dubai.tie.org. And also feel free to reach out to me on chat through the chat box here. We also rely on our charter members who generously devote their time and energy out of their busy schedules to support and run the activities of TiE Dubai. A shout out to all the charter members who are online here with us now. Thank you. A special thanks also to Techstars Hub 71 for helping curate today's session with the founders, and also to our Director of Events, Rohit Dev, who makes sure that we bring you the right conversations with the right people each and every time. Moving on to the session for today. I personally am looking forward to today's session as I bump into so many startups in the ecosystem that are raising funds or looking into it, growing in the region. They have many questions. Is now the correct time? How hard do we push to get a meeting with a VC or an angel? Am I spamming by sending him or her too many emails? Is referral a better method? Should I scale some before I start the process? Fundraising itself can be a whole independent project. Can I juggle this? So many questions. These are the few questions I have heard. I'm sure there's more. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to our moderator for today, one of the best persons to answer these and many other queries that one may have while fundraising and expanding your markets in this region as a business. He will not only help answer your queries for these regions, but also for those in the MENA and Asia regions. The advantage of UAE being a springboard to accessing more by setting up and expanding markets from here. Vijay Thiratrai, the Managing Director at Techstars Hub 71, based in Abu Dhabi, has gone from being a serial entrepreneur himself to managing several entrepreneurs on their journey to success. In his role at Techstars Hub 71, he helps many promising entrepreneurs help raise funds, grow their markets, and accelerate their journey to higher growth and success. He has made over 40 investments, primarily in early stage technology companies. Prior to joining Techstars, he is the global CEO of the Entrepreneurs Organization based in Washington. Throughout his career, he has taken up leadership and several board roles. Today, he continues to help mentor numerous founders in an advisory capacity. Without further ado, I hand over to you, Vijay, as our official expert moderator for the session today. Vijay will introduce the panel of rising leaders, founders who he has helped as Techstars to embark on a higher journey. Before I hand over, quick housekeeping rules. Send all your questions to Q&A button so we don't miss it out on chat. We will address it as we go through the session, and we also have a Q&A session at the end. If there's any glitches, stay with us, we'll fix it. And Vijay, over to you. All the best, everybody.
Cicely, thank you very much for the very kind introduction. And I'm as excited as you are to be talking to four great gentlemen today, representing some of the amazing startups within our portfolio that we have recently invested in. Before I get to them, I just want to place on record my thanks to TiE Global, and namely Rohit Dev and Ashish Punjabi, the leadership here in Dubai, for bringing this event together. Techstars is the global platform for innovation and investment, and we are one of the leading investors in seed stage technology companies. Today, across the world, we have invested over 2,500 companies with the current portfolio value close to $30 billion. The Techstars Hub Setting program, which is based in Abu Dhabi, is seeking for companies that are disruptive in a whole variety of different sectors. The preferences that we are seeking to invest in are sectors such as fintech, e-commerce, agri-tech, ed-tech, as well as clean tech, and any other opportunity that we see that we can best add value, we'll be willing to accept applications for and invest in these companies. I'll share with you with more details towards the tail end of this program. But for today, I'd like to begin with a poll. So Cicely, would you so kindly assist me in sending out a poll to the audience to capture some basic information as to who our audience are? So we'll give you 30 seconds to reply to 2 questions, and then I'll proceed with making the introduction to the panelists. Okay, thank you very much for your response. And Cicely, is this visual accessible to everyone on screen right now?
Yeah, I'm sharing it with everybody right now.
Fantastic. So here is the response from the group with question number 1, what best fits your profile? It seems that the vast majority, 60%, are entrepreneurs. And we do have a good number of aspiring entrepreneurs as well. And to the question number 2, as far as fundraising is concerned, we do see that there is a good number of companies that are bootstrapped, and there's a handful that is raising the first round, and some a second round. So I think this will be interesting when we get into the discussion around fundraising. Thank you for sharing your response, and this is a great pivot to me making the introduction to the session today. So the session suggests that UAE is a springboard for early stage tech companies, as well as for market expansion. We're going to explore that by bringing together 4 founders who have distinct businesses in the region that has used UAE as a base to expand their respective businesses. I would also like them to speak very clearly towards their success as well as their struggles, as well as any lessons they can share to aspiring entrepreneurs about hiring talent, gaining access to markets, and fundraising. So without much further ado, I'd like to bring on our first panelist, Edmond Husseini, the co-founder and CEO of Felix. Edmond, please introduce yourself, your company, and what actually brought you here to Dubai, knowing that Dubai is your home base, but what actually made you make that decision to base your startup from Dubai? Over to you.
Thanks, Vijay. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. My name's Edmond. I am one of the co-founders of Felix. We are a Dubai-based technology company, a startup in the insurance space. And very, very briefly, what we do is we provide insurance providers with an e-commerce platform so that they can sell insurance to their customers online. So whereas maybe traditionally they were selling insurance over email and over the phone through PDFs and Excel sheets, we automate that entire experience and give them an e-commerce platform through which they can sell to insurance companies, to their clients, I should say. We did Techstars in 2018. That's how we know Vijay. They've been a great support to us. And yeah, we're based here. I grew up in Dubai, so Dubai for me was a natural place to start a business. My business network is here. Our knowledge of the market is very specific to this region, so it felt like a really natural place to start a business. I hope that answers your question, Vijay.
Yes, very much so. Thank you for that, Edmond. And whilst you have chosen Dubai as your base, we'd like to get into a recent strategic move you made vis-a-vis with KSA, and we'll hold that for further conversation, but I'd like you to expand the reasons why. I'd like to move on to Cedrick Tandong, who is the CEO and co-founder of Three Wheels United. Cedrick, please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Vijay, and thanks to the TiE community for putting this together. I am Cedrick Tandong, like Vijay says, the co-founder of Three Wheels United. We are based in Bangalore, India. Three Wheels finances light electric vehicles, and we've built the best in-class technology to manage these loans, such that I think we have a portfolio with a very least default rates. We're doing this to drivers who ideally would not make the move to drive electric. So we are a company on a mission. And talking about why we came to Dubai, I think my co-founders and I, beyond looking for a holiday destination, we were participating in the Techstars Dubai program. This program helped us a lot as a platform to extend our reach in terms of partnership, but also the typical type of financiers we're looking for. Because financing is a core of our business, I think it made complete sense for us to be in the UAE. Vijay, I hope that answers your question, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Cedrick, because you said you're based in Bangalore, but one piece of factoid that you missed out, that you originally have a background in France, you have a partner who's based in Amsterdam, your company is incorporated, your holding company is incorporated in the US, but yet you chose UAE as a convenient place to suggest what you suggested, which is fundraising and reach out to the community. And that is something that I really like to drill down a little bit more. You know, what has been your success? Being a US-based company, but with operations in Bangalore, and then coming to the Middle East as a point to raise funds. So hold that thought, and I'll get back to you. I'm going to move now to Nadeem, the CEO and founder of Design Hubs. Welcome, Nadeem, and please introduce yourself and your company.
Hi, Vijay. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Nadeem, founder and CEO of Design Hubs. Design Hubs was first went to Techstars 2020 and Hub 71. We graduated from the program in last April. what we do is we enable brands and retailers to sell their products in 3D and augmented reality on their websites and apps. We actually came to Dubai and to the UAE because we believe that Dubai is a hub. They want to be the technology hub of the region. And from Dubai, the aim is to scale up to the US, to Asia, to Europe. And really the connections here what's going to help us do that. And as you know, we work with some of the largest brands such as IKEA, such as Alexander McQueen, and many others. So I hope this answers what you've asked.
Yeah, and firstly, my heart goes out to you and your friends in Beirut with all the difficult events that's taken place recently, and but I know there's been a lot of disruption in the business there. We've seen many of our friends from Lebanon coming to Dubai as well for other reasons. You've chosen more for strategic reasons, and that is to really connect with the big brands that are operating in this space. IKEA, you mentioned, is one example, which I'd like to learn a little bit more about. How did you develop that relationship, and how do you actually use a backdoor entry to a multinational here in the region for global expansion? So that's a conversation that I'd like to settle back with, but thank you, Nadeem. And finally, we have Yahya, who is the founder and CEO of Omet, who's currently in Amman, Jordan, just arrived last night. Welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay, for the opportunity, and thank you, TiE Dubai, for having us. So my name is Yahya Aqil. I'm CEO of Omet. Omet is the first B2B platform that connects manufacturers, distributors, and healthcare providers in the healthcare industry. We use AI to matchmaking between manufacturers with distributors, and also we manage the order between healthcare providers and the local distributors. Also, we are one of the Techstars in 2020, incorporated in Hub 71. Why we, let's say, the story why we came to Emirates, there is a funny story that in 2017, a PR agency wrote an article that top 10 startups who are shaping the fourth industrial revolution based in Dubai. And that time, Omet name is come one of them. And I was, okay, guys, we are we are a C Corp in Delaware. We have subsidiary in France and in Jordan. We never have been in Dubai. So that's the funny reason. But why we came to Emirates, it's because in 2019, we have the opportunity to attend the Techstars accelerating program in Hub 71. And when we moved to, let's say, Abu Dhabi, and we experienced the ecosystem, access to talent, and also the infrastructure in Abu Dhabi, we decided to incorporate it in Abu Dhabi. And also having the Hub 71, opportunity, it's also a strong reason why we incorporated in Emirates. I hope that's answered your question, Vijay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I also am privileged to know a little bit about your operations as you shared them over the past few weeks, and that you've been successful in fundraising, but now you're on a hiring spree and looking for talent around the region. I'd like you to share your experience later on about access to talent and what have you seen as some of the challenges, if not success, in that area. So I'm just going to pause here and ask Cicely to post the next question for the poll. But thank you very much for the quick introductions, and we're going to dive into more specific conversations. Cicely, would you mind please posting the next question? So do you feel UAE is a good base to set up and expand your small business from? it's always interesting to ask a question like this before you hear from the panelists so that you don't get influence.
Please answer honestly.
Thank you. Oh, that's an overwhelming response to yes. You do feel UAE is a good base to set up and expand your small business from. Well, thank you for your replies. That's very interesting reply from the group. So let's get into the questions then with the panelists. So I would like perhaps Edmond and Nadeem to address this. What is the attraction that you found in UAE in your case? And what has been your success so far with regards to market development or business development?
Edmond, go ahead and then I'll...
Okay, sure. Yeah, listen, I think, you know, in the Middle East, at least, Dubai is definitely one of the top places, if not the top place to set up a business. And I mean, the Emirates, if you're, you know, if it's between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, then for sure it's the UAE. I think, you know, we're one of the largest economies in the region. I don't think it's yet as easy as it should be, or as cost effective as it should be to set up a business, but we are definitely moving in the right direction. And if you look in the last few years at all the initiatives that have, you know, been put in place to facilitate the setting up of new businesses, we're definitely going in the right direction. So I'd rather be here than anywhere else, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Edmond regarding this point that although we're not there yet, and the infrastructure still needs to be optimized for startups and for small businesses, but we're definitely going in the right direction, and we are seeing a lot of initiatives coming from the government and from other entities to help small companies and specifically startups grow and expand from the region. Another thing I'd like to add for me, maybe as a personal experience, why Dubai? Dubai is a hub that connects the globe, like global hub. So from there, we decided to move to Dubai, establish a really strong base in Dubai, connect to the GCC, have GCC as a stepping stone, and then expand from the GCC to Western countries, Europe, US, and Asia. And that's our vision, and that's what we're working on. Vijay, you're muted.
You're on mute, Vijay.
Yes, thank you for that. So Nadeem, that's great to hear as well. And if I can just go a little bit more specific, share with me a success of where you've leveraged Dubai, UAE, for example, for that matter, and expanded into the region. Or how do you, were you able to be successful in penetrating, say, key accounts for your business? You know, you're in the business of retail using AR. Speak to us towards that.
So we have actually more than I'm sure that also you know, hustling and luck plays a big role. We've been lucky to have more than a successful case. I would name one that's, I mean, the major one for us was IKEA. Again, we were established in Dubai. The first IKEA account that we had was in Saudi Arabia. We entered through their corporate accelerator. They only chose 4 companies from the region out of thousands that they have applied, and we were one of the few ones that's been chosen. And again, really, the solution that we're offering, we are the only company in the MENA actually that's offering this type of advanced and deep technology. So this is one of the examples, like for us, signing a corporate deal with IKEA, starting in Saudi Arabia and then in the UAE, and now expanding to other IKEA markets in Europe and in Asia. So yeah, that's the case, the use case that I'd like to discuss more about.
Edmond, I'm sure if I circle back to you, I mean, as a startup, irrespective of whether you're based in Dubai, you know, for insurtech and fintech, there are other more competitive jurisdictions, for example, London, or for that matter, Singapore. I'm sure you've evaluated those options. And you look at beyond what UAE offers, how do you compare that proposition with UAE, and why have you chosen to settle with UAE? Putting aside personal preferences.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it is easier to set up a business, especially a small business, in places like Singapore, parts of Europe, certainly Australia, New Zealand. I mean, we look at the benchmarks. How long does it take to set up a business? How much money does it cost? It's difficult here to set up your business from your proverbial garage. You know what I mean? The fees, etc. That's all for a good reason. But again, why Dubai? I mean, I think the Middle East is a very interesting market in a lot of respects. We have a very, very young population. The UAE has fantastic digital infrastructure. So the foundations are certainly in place for us to see a big growth of the digital sector in this country. And I think for us, that's one of the main reasons why, forget about the fact that I was born and raised here. If I had been from anywhere else in the Middle East, I'd still want to set up in Dubai for sure to target this region. I think in a lot of businesses or a lot of industries in the region, Dubai sort of is a leader. So what happens in Dubai eventually sort of trickles down and then ends up happening in other markets in the region. So it's a good place, I think, at least for us, to test new ideas. The diversity of client that we see here I think is much higher than anywhere else in the Gulf or in the Middle East for that matter. So there's this cross-pollination of ideas coming from the East, coming from the West. Yeah, there's a lot, there's a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I guess I think everyone can agree that you get this very unique mix of diverse nationalities producing a very interesting wide but also talent pool that you can tap into that's not seen elsewhere. So speaking about talent, I would like to ask Yahya, you've just closed out your round, you're hiring people for your business, which is very global, but you do have a lot of relationships here in the Middle East. Speak to us about your experience hiring talent from this region, for that matter, UAE. What has been your experience?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Vijay. Actually, the last 3 months, we were massively hiring, especially C position in our company. And we figured out that in Emirates, exactly in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, both cities, there is a good access to talent. Actually, the funny thing, even if you want to hire some Jordanian, why I'm Jordanian, you can find the talent in Emirates, not in Jordan. And we experienced that. So the last C-level position that we were, open to hire abroad, but even though we figure out most of the talent, they are in Emirates and they prefer to stay in Emirates, and that's what we come up. So eventually the last, month, we have already hired 5 C-level people, all of them in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So definitely Emirates is one of good place for access to talent. I totally agree on that.
Nadeem, what's been your experience on that front?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Yahya. As you know, Vijay, the biggest multinational corporations are based out of Dubai. So if you look at really the biggest corporations, the Western and Eastern corporation, really the largest ones have some sort of a representation or office or even headquarters in the UAE. So of course, there's going to be a lot of talents there, and you'll be able to tap into all these into all this talent. Although there's a lot of talent, there's also a downside for that. The salaries that you would pay for Dubai are going to be very challenging for a startup that just started or even pre-seed, and it's very hard to afford top talent that is based in the UAE. Unless, there's going to be a lot of compromise. So this is something that you should always, keep your eyes on and really take into consideration.
Guys, I sort of disagree, to be honest, with some of the points raised here. I think, if you look at other tech hubs, so I'm talking about tech talent now in specific, right? If you look at other tech hubs like San Francisco or Berlin or Boston or even some places, Estonia, a lot of these tech hubs have grown up organically around large feeder schools of technology graduates. And I think this is one thing that we're missing here. We don't yet have the educational infrastructure in place to produce these world-class software engineers, data scientists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whereas certainly there's, I think, a diversity of talent here, you're not going to get the same quality in general, I'm speaking, as you would in some of these other tech hubs. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, Edmond, like I agree with you, but just one point, my answer about it, about like the hiring process and the talent wasn't specifically around the tech talent.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
like in general, like a business development, sales, strategy,
for sure.
C-level positions, as Yahya was mentioning. I was really talking about what Yahya said, like C-level positions, mainly in strategy, product, operations, and really not into tech. But when it comes to tech, yes, I totally agree with you. That we still lack talent in the region.
Like you guys are a deep tech company at Design Hubs, right?
That's correct.
You must have this issue. Where do you guys get your deep tech talent?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can tell you that not from the UAE or not from the GCC at all. Mostly, we have a lot of good Lebanese talent based out of Lebanon. We have a very diverse team. We are a remote team since day one, even pre-COVID. So we have a lot of people from Lebanon. We have people from Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine. We have in Sri Lanka. We have also in so these are the main countries that we've hired from.
So,
a question I have to Yahya is, isn't this also partly because of COVID and the massive loss of jobs? So I do completely agree with Edmond here that it's difficult to get good tech talents, affordable tech talents. We haven't tried hiring for other positions. Isn't this just, it might be easier hiring now than it was, say, 5 months ago?
Yeah, thank you for...
just to, I'm glad, Cedrick, you asked a question. There's also a question from Ashish Punjabi from the chat. The fact that today you have access to, as we're speaking on Zoom today from 5 different cities around the world, has that not really leveled the playing field, irrespective of whether you're in Dubai or not? And I want you to speak to that, especially you guys have been hiring from different parts of the world. Has that made any easier with looking for talent? And therefore, it really doesn't matter where you're based. I'm just curious from your perspective.
Well, I'll talk about our case, right? So a lot of we're based in Bangalore, and we have a diverse team, part of our team based in, my co-founders sitting in Rotterdam, and we've been working with people in the US and people in Bangalore. I think it had been a challenge having all of these people, but now because that has become the new normal, even the next set of tech engineers we're hiring are all working from different parts of India, which are quite far apart, but then we've created the infrastructure to make that possible, and which, in my opinion, opens up a whole range of I guess, next set of talents which we could have access to. So that's my experience there.
I want to change the shift gears a little bit. Edmond brought up the point about hubs, and it really depends on which hubs you're referring to. Now, what's interesting is that Nadeem and Yahya, you both have a presence in Hub 71 in Abu Dhabi, and Edmond, you're Dubai-based, and Cedrick, you've gone through the Dubai program a year back. So I wonder if you were able to debate about Abu Dhabi and Dubai as a hub. What would be the differences, and where do you think is competitive for startup?
I would like to tap in here. Just first of all, I would just comment on Edmond about the talent in Emirates. I totally agree. In San Francisco or even in UK, you will have more access. But I'm trying to compare eventually Emirates among the MENA region. That's my, the comparison. I'm not comparing it with San Francisco or like in Europe. To come back to the Hub 71, or let's say Dubai and I face the challenge of that. So majority of the
be objective.
yeah, for sure I will be objective. Majority of the, I mean, we face a huge challenge to move people from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, and I told everyone in Hub 71 about that. Like, everyone prefer to be in Dubai, they don't want to move in Abu Dhabi, but eventually we are in Abu Dhabi, so we need them to come to Abu Dhabi. So the 5 positions that we hire in Abu Dhabi, all of them are from Dubai. None of them in Abu Dhabi, but I mean, eventually we need them to come because of the facility we got it from Hub 71. So yeah, I totally also believe most of the talent in Dubai, but eventually Abu Dhabi, they start to do some kind of initiation to bring talent to the, let's say, to Abu Dhabi. The Edmond points about the tech, it's really challenging. Yeah, so definitely finding the talent, technology, it's really difficult, and as Nadeem mentioned, it's costly as well. So yeah.
Right. I think it's fair to say that I think Abu Dhabi's ecosystem is still nascent, and that it's just getting off the ground, and invariably it's yet to reach a tipping point where there will be mobility people as well as a sizable cluster of talent that is inherently present in Abu Dhabi. That's going to take some time for it to reach its potential. But I think when you look at UAE, to Nadeem's earlier point, we can agree that I think for general skills, whether it's marketing, business development, is readily available. And I think a lot of the talent is coming from executives from corporates who are seeking to join tech startups because it's seemingly exciting and they want to be on the edge of disruption. And that's one of the attractions that you can see that's taking place. I want to take a moment to pause here and talk about fundraising. But before I do that, I want to get back to the audience and take a poll. So if Cicely could just throw out the next question on fundraising, then we'll take the discussion forward. So the question is, do you feel fundraising is in the MENA is relatively easier? So that's a very general question. It's easier compared to perhaps the West, India, Asia. So that's for you to put that in context.
Yeah. I'll double down and follow Edmond's suggestion that guys be really truthful here.
So it seems we have a mixture of results. I think yes. The vast majority seems to say that no, it's not easy in MENA. I'm sure the panelists will add more color to their real experience. And some felt it's a bit easier. So let's see what the panelists have to say. Now, Cedrick, you have a very interesting business model. It's semi-micro lending credit. So you have debt and equity in your mix in terms of fundraising. Speak to us about your experience raising funds in this region here in MENA versus say in Europe or for that matter in India.
Thank you very much, Vijay. I think we haven't raised enough capital in the UAE to really qualify it. But then this was one of the reasons we came to the UAE, because we have a blend of of capital, ranging from equity to debt, and our core business is deploying debt. So we still see, so while we have raised, we've raised now, we've just closed our second round of our pre-series A round after our seed round, a little bit over $1 million, largely in equity. We are still looking to the region towards debt financing. And there is a very specific reason for that. So Dubai plays a good midpoint between East and West, and the financial regulations and markets there are quite favorable in moving money around different parts of the world. So we, to that respect, Dubai or the UAE still remains a target place for us to raise debt and also do our transactions there. But talking about equity, our experience was that we had, I think, a lot of startup enthusiasts, investors, who are looking at doing smaller checks. When we came into the Techstars program, we had quite a few who were interested in our business. But then when you think about the ticket size and the effort to manage these investors, then it made sense to go with slightly bigger tickets. And that is what we did. So we did close some funding in the region, but the majority of our funding came outside of the UAE.
So what I'm hearing is that you had success with perhaps angels and I'm putting words in your mouth, by the way, angels and family offices, VCs, right? Because when you say smaller checks,
yes.
that's experience here. Let me turn to Yahya, who, all of you just recently, by the way, closed either seed round or pre-series A. So congratulations, I should say. And I think in the case of Edmond, he had a strategic investor. All this was done in the last 6 months within COVID, the disruption of COVID to economies and people's businesses. So well done on that front. So back to Yahya about your experience in closing your recent round, and speak to us about your experience about being in Abu Dhabi and raising money, talking to VCs here in UAE, in the region, and also abroad in the West.
Yeah, okay. So in order to make it clear, first of all, I would like to make some comparisons. So if we compare our experience raising the money in Emirates comparing to the Middle East, I give it 10. So definitely there is a numerous number of active VC in Emirates, more than any country in the region. And even when we want to close our seed round, we had the opportunity to receive the term sheet from many of institutional VC, which was really great. But we closed, but we haven't taken their money because we want to close our round quickly from our early Silicon Valley investors. And here is one thing: if we will compare Emirates with the US, no, definitely in US you could close more faster, and even in UK as well. But our experience in Emirates is positive because eventually there are a good, let's say, active investors. We will definitely consider when we will go to our Series A. That's something in our mind. But this is the equation. If you compare it in the Middle East, or if your business in Middle East, I do believe Emirates is the best place to raise the money. But if your business is global, definitely go abroad in US or in Europe. I mean, I consider Emirates will be number 1 in Middle East, number 3 worldwide.
Oh, thanks for the frank answer. I just want to double down on one comment I picked up, and that is the comparison here in UAE/MENA, let's say, compared to the US, takes a longer time. And what would you say is the reason for that, where decisions take maybe 3 times, 4 times longer than it would typically do in conversation with a VC in the US?
So the question is for me, yeah?
Yes, if you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think first of all, in Middle East they don't like to say no. So that's, I mean, in Europe they could say yes or no and move forward. Like we can get the answer from the beginning. But in Middle East they, or let's talk about Emirates. They afraid to lose the opportunity, or sometimes they don't like to say no. They keep it, open, and you don't know if they are really interested or not. You send email, there is no feedback, and you keep sending emails chasing, but nothing's coming. And eventually you need to just understand it by yourself. So eventually you will learn that when you send email no feedback, that's mean no, but they don't say it. So this is the logic behind that. And it takes time. Eventually, I think there's a lot of stages in Middle East to take decision. And even if they are sure, they want to be double sure. And, that takes time. But in US, based on my experience, it's like you have a stages and a firm answer when it's go to the IC. If they want to invest, we're going to invest. This is the term sheet. If not, thank you. So I think this is my feedback.
Thanks, Yahya. I want to come to Edmond because he's got a big smile on his face, and I'm sure he's got a cheeky comment to make. But Edmond.
No, I was just, it sounded like the dating scene here, that description. You never know if it's a yes or a no, and it needs to go through several stages of approval before you get an answer.
So I want to know how many, so Yahya was talking about, you don't know whether they're going to say no, but how many no's do you get before you get a yes? And I think in your case, share with us the story about as you closed your round recently and you made a press release, what was the reaction you received from the investment community?
Look, I agree with everything Yahya says. Like, he hit the nail on the head. For some people, for some reason, culturally, we don't like to say no here. Just to put things in, like, maybe there are people here who are thinking about, embarking on a fundraising journey. We talked, I looked at our CRM system recently, and we talked to about, I think it was 62 different investors and conversations that we had before we got a commitment for our seed round. And our seed round was not even that large. Now, I don't know if that says something about us, or if that says something about the ecosystem or about the investors, but it's not the first time that I've heard from other founders that they have to have literally 50, 60, 70 conversations with different investors to get a commitment. I think the benefit of Dubai is that, or the Emirates, it's a small community, and there's a high density of wealthy individuals here. So maybe for that initial $100, $150, $200,000, you can find somebody in your network to get the money. But as soon as you need more than that, I think it starts getting a little bit difficult, maybe not compared to other parts, but as we said, compared to more developed markets like the US and Europe. So, I mean, you don't hear very often that people raise much money just on the basis of a good idea here, right? Whereas that's a pretty common thing in more developed startup ecosystems. So your question, how did we end up raising our money? It was through our contacts here in the UAE that we got in touch with a strategic investor in Saudi Arabia. They saw the benefit of what we're doing. They have a deep understanding of our industry. And this is something that the VCs we were talking to here lacked, or maybe didn't see the opportunity. And so, I mean, we really got lucky. And we got lucky that we were introduced to this individual who understood what we were trying to do and agreed to invest in us. I think luck plays a very big role that is underestimated.
Right. Fantastic. I've got just one question from the audience I'd like to throw out to maybe Nadeem, could address this. If not, I'll get back to Yahya, and then I want to shift the gears to something completely different. So the question from what challenges do you face when you have your product development team geographically distributed, right? How do they get together for brainstorming and deep dives discussions? What's been and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, great question. So thanks for asking. Basically, so Vijay, as I mentioned to you, we've been a remote team since day one. That was our vision, even pre-COVID. So really, we need to rely heavily on the different digital software that enable this type of digitization, and really rely also on the virtual meetings. So there's no office. You're not going to see them, and you're not going to interact face to face. So I can share some things that we usually do. Again, like we have a lot of software that we work with that like streamlines the whole digital strategy when it comes to technical and even to sales. So some of them, like Airtable, Asana, all the video calls that we do, and the GitHub, GitLab, all these like software platforms that everyone uses, but really relying more heavily on these type of technologies and creating a culture where you actually have to meet the whole company and really create something that you have to do as if you're doing it physically, but doing it digitally, and have more digital interactions, because the physical interaction will actually put you closer to your team members, and the digital, you always see that there's this small barrier between between the two of you. So really bringing all the team together, making more interactions, and relying heavily on these software platforms that really digitalize the interactions when it comes to technical or other categories or other departments.
Right. Thanks for that, Nadim. Look, we've got a few more minutes before closing. I've got about 4 or 5 questions to get through very quickly, so I expect your answers to be very brief to the point. The next two is directed to Yahya from the audience. One is, have you got any experience raising with Chinese VCs? And if so, what has been the experience?
Yes, we have an experience raising from Chinese. It was good. I think Chinese, they are really interested in this market, and they really, also writing a big check. But again, also it takes a lot of time, and somehow it's a lot of. I mean, if you want to close quickly, it's not. They are not closing, let's say, that much speed. But eventually, I can see there's a lot of interest from Chinese investors to the region.
Right. And I think that's just the beginning, right? We expect more traction from Chinese investors to come in here. Quite true. Next question to you, Yahya, again from Sophia Salim. It seems that you guys went through 500 startups in San Francisco, and then again in Texas hubs and you one in Abu Dhabi. How was your experience and how do you compare?
Yeah, actually.
By the way, we asked him the same question, so he has a great answer for that.
Yeah, that's my lovely answer. Actually, I compare 500 and Techstars like the following. Like you have a two-parent. 500, you have a rich parent who give you the money and don't ask about anything. Give you the money, go and do whatever you want, and if you need anything, come back to us. In Techstars, it's different style. You have a Harvard parent who really very educated, who will keep checking every single homework they give to you, and keep checking what you're doing, why you're doing this, pushing you, kicking your ass, do more, do faster. This is actually the comparison. What I would go with Techstars experience. It was much, let's say, good for us, and even we scale much higher than when we scale after 500. But both of them very reputable accelerating program, both of them really great. That time in 500 was really great for us because we just started the idea, but definitely with Techstars, we were more mature and we could scale more, let's say, faster.
Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed.
I'll say take the money and then.
You're not raising enough money. You're not kicking ass. What are you doing? Come on, get back to work. All right, here's a question for everyone. If I were to give you $120,000 today, and not for your business, not for buying your next supercar, but if you were to make a decision to invest in the next business, what would that business sound like?
I would invest in Omid. That's the first. That's the first portion of my money, and specifically, and my friend and fellow founder Yahya. And the second two industries I would invest in, one of them is deep tech, and the third one is fintech. That's from my side.
Edmond?
Yeah, I think. I think it's a bit of an unfair question because you know, I think if you tell me, okay, you have $120,000 all of a sudden, I'm gonna think really carefully now about how I spend that money, because after being broke for so many years, to take a punt on another startup or a business, no. But seriously, I think fintech is potentially going to be huge, or not potentially, it is going to be huge in this region and globally. Lots of players coming in. So certainly the fintech space, neobanks, you know, the likes of TransferWise, Revolut, these guys are just gonna, I think, wipe the floor with the incumbent banking system.
Okay, thanks for that. So what I'm hearing is keep your money in the house, don't invest in startups because it's just a bad investment idea. Thanks, Edmond. Cedrick.
Well, I put my money in last mile delivery companies. Well, because I think for the next 24 months, we're going to learn to live a life where we're ordering everything and someone has to bring it to us, which means that that space is just going to transform in terms of whether it's how the delivery is done, who's doing it, and the technology around there. So that's where I'll put my money.
I would really love for you to set up operations here in Dubai and set up a fund to invest last mile delivery companies, which is.
And we should definitely make it electric.
Yes, of course. No question.
And use your loans.
Now you're talking.
Okay, yeah. Where would you invest outside the medical space?
I have to pay back the half of it to my friend's team, Design Hub, and then the half of it to EdTech, because I do believe EdTech is what we really need in this region. So it's EdTech.
Okay, that's great. Look, in closing, you guys have been great founders. I have to tell to the audience this, that all the 4 companies have gone through a Techstars program in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And it takes, a handful of companies to get through the thousands of applications. So usually less than 2% or 1% are successful. So you're actually having the privilege to talk to 4 of them today, or listen to 4 of them today. And my question to each one of you, since you've gone through a Techstars program, is what is the one thing that each of you that have been impacted by, either personally or as a company, by going through the program? So very quick response, just run the screen.
I guess I can start. Network. So the Techstars network is great. I'm still, even 3-4 years later, we're still leveraging the Techstars network very, very, very aggressively. Yeah, for sure, network.
Yeah, I also second, what Edmond said. Definitely, Techstars has I'm sure, the largest network of all accelerators globally. So really, we're really leveraging and pushing hard on leveraging the Techstars network and the Techstars Connect. I'm not sure if everyone knows what I'm talking about, but once you're a Techstars company, you're always a member of Techstars for life, and you get a platform where you can get access to all the perks of Techstars and get connected to all the Techstars network and Techstars founders. And this is something really, really great. And I think this is one of the most important things you get out of Techstars. It's like a family that will stay with you throughout your journey and even beyond. So that's a huge thing that we got. And the second thing is really do much more, much faster. So yeah, and thank you, Vijay, for that as well.
All right. So I think I'll double down on that. So through Techstars, 2 of our board members, we helped them through Techstars. That goes to say a lot. We've received investments from Techstars twice. That goes to say a lot as well. And I think it's just the general, the attitude that you get from being part of willing to help while everybody is busy, and that is something which you don't find that easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, definitely, Techstars experience was a life changer, personally and for my company as well. It gave me the understanding of the importance of the advisors and the mentors, and that was really great things to come out with Techstars experience.
Well, thank you very much, General, for your reply to that. I am really warm-hearted with this response. But more than that, I think it's been a really fun and engaging conversation. Many of you have not connected for many months, and bringing this panel together has also been a thrill for me. So thank you very much for your participation. And I want to thank the audience for listening and for the questions that you put forward. I'm sorry, I try to get through as many questions as I can, but time is now up for us to hand over back to the host, Cicely. Cicely's got 2 quick questions that she likes to post before we wrap up, so you can kindly just take the 10 seconds to reply to this, and we'll share it with the group. As you do this, I do want to say as a plug-in, Dania Shahin, who's been our program manager at Hub 71, has been phenomenal to work with, and she is just posted a link for information that if any of the staffs that are looking to apply for our program, please feel free to reach out to her, myself, or on that link itself. On that note, I'd like to wish you, all the very success in your business, and let's look at the results. Did you find today's session informative? That's a 70% yes, and for the other somewhat. Would you recommend TiE events for your ecosystem community? Again, an overwhelming yes. So on that note, thank you very much, TiE Dubai, TiE Global, and Cicely, and Rohit Dave for having me moderate this panel. And I wish you all success, be safe, stay well.